first activist investment in Pershing Square was Wendy's. Actually, it was an article in Barron's saying how cheap Wendy's stock was, and it owned a company called Tim Hortons. And at the time, we bought 10% of Wendy's for a valuation of about $4.5 billion for the whole company. And they owned 100% of Tim Hortons. That generated about $450 million of operating income. We thought Tim Hortons was worth a lot more than all of Wendy's. And our thesis was split the two. And so we bought a stake, we called the management, they didn't take our call. Sent an email, they didn't respond. So I had a friend who worked at Blackstone, and I said, you know, would Blackstone do a fairness opinion, in effect, of what Wendy's would be worth if they spun off Tim Hortons?
How did you get Blackstone to take you seriously?
Just a friend who worked there, that, you know, wanted to do business. Blackstone had an investment bank at the time. And Steve Schwartzman actually signed off on the fairness opinion for Wendy's spinning off Tim Hortons. And we mailed it in, filed it in a 13D, and 6 weeks later they split the company, stock doubled. And that was the beginning of our activist career at Pershing Square.
Activist. What is the criteria for your activism?
Well, so today, I sort of retired, as I say, from public company activism, because you sort of have to be an activist if no one knows who you are, because it's hard to influence companies when you're a startup hedge fund. We've been around long enough that today we don't have to be an activist. You know, people take our call. But my activism sort of, I remember meeting a CEO actually in the 1990s in my first fund, and he said, Bill, I think you have activist tendencies. And he didn't mean it in a very positive way. I think actually activism is a very positive thing. But you know, I would say on X, I've kind of transferred my activist tendencies. Yeah, if there's an issue I'm passionate about, I've always been a big free speech person.